how can contractors build their own version of a hot streak?
Yeah, so absolutely. This is what I've been saying for years. You know, marketing is like sitting down at a game of chess and being strategic, but you can never get up. It's one of those things that should always be on your to-do list.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I've got Crystal Williams on from Lemon Seed Marketing. How you doing, Crystal?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And we're talking about hot streaks, how to get more hot streaks in your marketing by balancing experimentation with exploiting what works.
Yeah.
And Crystal, you guys have a roofing company, but you also have a marketing company. Talk to me about the balance of those two things.
I'm the heart of a contractor that also owns a marketing company. So
Yeah.
it is one of my favorite things to actually talk about. So, my family, I got started, I'm a hashtag trade baby, as I
Yeah.
say. Grew up, my grandfather, then my dad, and my brother own and operate our heating and air conditioning and plumbing business. We became very, branded, very well known in our market. And so in 2019, my brother was like, you should do this for other contractors. So I started doing it. So I approached a lady in our town that owned a roofing company. And I said, hey, I would love an opportunity to do your marketing and your branding. If you would just give me a shot, I want to learn all about roofing like I knew about HVAC and plumbing. And she said, I'll give you part of my business if you'll come on board with me because I love what y'all do. So I now have part of a roofing company, and she and I have really embraced this concept of branding and marketing. And so I just use all of that in the field experience that I have and behind the scenes of like a real contracting business to help run and fuel my marketing company, Lemon Seed.
Love that. And it's interesting because you're doing a lot of the same stuff that I feel like I'm doing now, which is like taking what seems to be working in a little bit more sophisticated HVAC and plumbing market and applying it to roofing now, because we have so many roofing clients, but a lot of them don't know about some of the stuff. Like you guys have like a mascot and you have like a very distinct brand, and the armadillo, and it's like
Yes.
there's this whole vibe behind the marketing. So you've kind of captured so many of the principles that heating and cooling and plumbing companies seem to have mastered, and you're bringing it over to roofing.
One thing I've learned a little bit is that roofers are like super hardworking contractors. They're used to the hard work of door knocking and referral, and they actually are better at that side than the HVAC and plumbing side is. But one of the biggest things that I'm seeing as I dig more and more into that industry is the lack of building a long-term strategy to your branding and not living on that hamster wheel of lead, storm chasing, all of the things that come in the roofing world. And so we've really taken a good approach of introducing a mascot and community engagement and how we build brands using social media content that is non-traditional. It's a little bit of an outside scope for sure for roofing companies, but hey, once you know what works and once you build like trust with homeowners in your markets, the markets that you're trying to grow in, you will see that it does pay off in the long run to be very diligent, very consistent, and on brand. It works.
Heck yeah. And I've just read this research around top performers, from artists to entrepreneurs. When they hit their biggest hot streaks, it's usually after a long stretch of experimentation followed by focused execution on the things that they know work now from all that experimentation. Do you see this pattern in marketing, and how can contractors build their own version of a hot streak?
Yeah, so absolutely. This is what I've been saying for years. Marketing is like sitting down at a game of chess and being strategic, but you can never get up. It's one of those things that should always be on your to-do list.
Join the future of roofing at offers.roofle.com. Stand out, save time, earn more.
Because you're always having to do it. And so I was, sharing with you earlier, one of the things I try to teach contractors is you have to have clear expectations and you have to learn to lean into the pivot. Once you get your mind wrapped around what life is going to look like when you're sitting in the marketing seat, you will feel better. So what I've seen is you have to go hard with experimentation, meaning you got to have money and you got to start putting it out there, and then you got to start putting yourself out there more. And then as things start to come to fruition better and better, or as they never get any traction, you've got to learn to pivot. And when you pivot, it's pivot with intentionality. So I'll tell everybody, we're not stopping this campaign till I have the next one ready. Because no campaign is also just as disastrous as one that may not be flipping as much as you want it to flip. So, one example I have of that is in my own family's company. We really were like, man, we kind of hit a plateau for a year, and about 18 months, we were like, what is going on? So we changed our whole strategy, which was an operational change for us. We decided to go 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week, no overtime charges. So this wasn't just like me spouting off a cute campaign. This required operational challenges and changes. And so we shifted to a 4-10 work schedule and rotating weekends and things like that to still maintain that family first schedule for our team members. So we didn't want to just like hang them out to dry. So we did that. But that unique selling position, that USP, we bought into it on the marketing side. Every billboard, every radio spot, social media, it was on all of our direct mail. It was everywhere. And we noticed that in about 6 months of us being very diligent with that messaging, when people were posting, looking for an HVAC company that'll work on Saturdays or Sundays, you know what we did? We robbed other companies' clients because we were willing to work when they wouldn't, till 7 o'clock and on the weekends without burning our team out. So it was definitely a cool move. So we still run that campaign, and that's been a couple of years ago. It's not our most aggressive campaign any longer. We've now shifted to some other things, but it is still a very aggressive campaign that we run. And so it was wildly successful. But we had to have the money to go do it first. So we didn't just say that's what we were now offering. We like put it everywhere.
Yeah.
And so a lot of clients will say, Crystal, that didn't work. And I'm like, well, where did you put it? Well, I told my team. That is not marketing. Telling your team is not marketing.
So step one, have money.
At least be willing to invest something in something, right? So again, contractors have this weird thought that marketing should not really cost any money. And they're like, I don't know why I'm not ranking. And I'm like, well, tell me how much you're spending on SEO. And they're like, well, I'm really not an SEO fan. Okay, well, neither are clients. They're not a fan of you because they don't see you. So we have to have some money. And scared money don't make money, is another thing. So again, though, this is strategy. So even if you have $500, let's be intentional about what we're going to do with that $500. Instead of just throwing wet noodles at the wall and seeing what sticks, you got to have enough money to push and pull when you need to. And then I do have a client fail for you.
Yeah.
So with our own roofing company, this was a hit and a miss. So with M&M Roofing, that's the name of the roofing company that I own here, part ownership of here in East Texas. And I convinced her that with every new roof that we installed, we were going to do a solo stove, so a smokeless fire pit. And it got great traction on social media and Facebook ads, but people did not want the actual smokeless fire pit. A few people did, but more people just were like, well, just give me the money off of the roof. And so at the end of the day, I told her, though, I said, so we learned that it hit one piece of our fraction, just not the full piece. What it did do was generate traction and generate excitement and generate buzz and start helping us rise above the busyness of roofers in people's feeds and on social media and things like that. But what it didn't do is actually build any value with the client. So then we just switched it up. And so I said, well, then just call it the M&M rebate, roofing rebate.
Yeah.
And so that same amount that we were going to spend on an actual solo stove, we just gave it back to the customer off invoice. And it was, we still pivoted. But she's my partner there. Her name's Emily. She is also a great pivoter. She is one of those that's like, here's the money. What are we going to do with it? And even this morning, we're like, okay, our biggest competitor, now that we're blowing past them with all this stuff, now they are like one step behind us. When we do radio, they do radio. We do billboards, they do billboards. So, man, I'm like, I'm going to keep you on your toes. I'm going to keep you guessing. And then we spend money on marketing. So if you buckle up, cowboy, because it's going to you're in for a ride. So, but it's been really good.
Yeah, I'm a big experimenter. I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff all the time. Sometimes it's not, that expensive. It just requires a lot of creativity sometimes. But I also liked how you touched on that sometimes marketing has to buck up and actually say maybe we should try this with our service. Sometimes it's not just saying creative and designs and all, and even promotions. Sometimes it's what could actually cut through the market here, and maybe actually recommending, if you're a marketer and you're trying to talk to your owner, sometimes it's selling a new idea about how to do business, which is, it's honestly, marketing at its best actually affects the service.
Yes, yes. And marketing is for sure not a band-aid for bad operations, because what'll happen is, listen, my job is to make the phone ring. So if you've already got issues when the phone rings, you're fixing to make it worse. And then just having a mutual respect for departments. And so one of the best things that I enjoyed about working with my brother and his company is when marketing was in the room and we were at a weekly meeting, I sat down with service managers, install managers, warehouse managers, because all of us had to be on the same page. And when I would come up with an idea, one of the things I really wanted to do was same day install. Well, of course, that went over not well. They were like, you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
But what we ended up with was guaranteed next day install, because collectively we all decided where we could all push and pull. And so, man, you want to see, I'll be the first marketer that probably says this. Marketing alone does not build companies. What builds companies is good operations. So like as a marketing company, I'm always looking for operational excellence. Like who here is invested in coaching and knows their average ticket and knows their cost per lead and is invested with a good digital company, like not your brother next door that does it as a hobby. Like who's investing in solid marketing strategies already? Those are great partners for Lemon Seed, because we then can we're like a good orchestra leader. We can bring all those instruments and make them really sing. And then if you're really serious about getting started, hey, those of you that are listening to this podcast that are like, man, I'm just not big enough yet. You're always, if you have time and energy to put into marketing, then you are ready. You just need to start doing things. Like you said, not everything costs money. A lot of it costs time, which can sometimes be more expensive than the actual dollars.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just testing and trying new things. And listen, the best way to kill a good idea is by committee. And so you can't ask 20 people what they think about your crazy idea, because crazy ideas are just that. They're crazy and they may work or they may not work, but they're probably not going to be detrimental. You just got to get out there and put yourself out there more.
Absolutely. Why do you think more contractors need to start thinking of their marketing as a series of experiments instead of expecting instant wins from every campaign?
Because it's the nature of the beast, right? So again, remember what I was saying earlier, like I want contractors to get clear expectations in their head. And those expectations are that I sit down at this game and I can't ever get up. My eye is constantly on things. So it's just like, man, you'll have a pitcher, right? And he's pitching a great game. He's killing it. He's striking people out. But all it takes is one injury to that rotator cuff or one elbow injury, something, and it's over. And then all of a sudden, now you've got to pivot, right? So, or they just get sore and they can't, are they really through for a lot of innings, like things that really wear those campaigns out. It's the same idea. So you always have to have somebody in the bullpen, right? Warming up and getting ready, because at the end of the day, this is a game of what's next. And so when your pitcher's pitching great, leave them in the game. You don't even got to coach them, right? Just, you're doing good. Thumbs up from the sidelines. Like you got it, right? And so just again, coaches don't wake up and go, you know what? I need 9 players. They have a bench because things happen. And maybe this is not my favorite idea, but this idea's run its course. And so I always try to do that with myself. Even with Lemon Seed, we're getting ready to launch some new things that we're trying. And Emily and I, so my partner in Lemon Seed's also named Emily. I have just an Emily partnership. But Emily and I were talking yesterday, Sunday afternoon. And I said, okay, we're committing to this for 3 months. And this may not work for the first 30 days, 60 days. But what I do want to work is I do want to be able to say that we gave it good time and good energy. And so again, set the expectations with yourself of how things are supposed to work. And so just stop thinking that everything is a silver bullet. It's not.
Exactly. How do you identify when a brand is ready to kind of commit or start exploiting a great idea or a great campaign or a great set of marketing tools versus and scaling that idea and pushing hard into it versus at the beginning you're kind of just always experimenting until you find something that's winning. When is it time to start exploiting what you already know wins?
So to me, when I know that things have really picked up, I dial in. So that's going to be all relative to what winning looks like to you. So for smaller companies, man, just getting the phone to ring right now. So let me use this example. So my brothers, we opened a new location. So I call it greenfielding. I'm assuming that's what a lot of people call it, but we just decided we wanted a new location in a different market. So we started using lead aggregators, and y'all, I hate them. Okay. I'm not a Angie style girl, but we were like, you know what we're going to try is like some e-locals, some things like that. And we dove in, jumped in there and said, let's just let this at least make the phone ring. Give us something to work with, give us something to go out there and do. So we had built a 2-year line where we didn't expect to make money for 2 years. We were going to push it all back into the business. But that worked well. So well to us was generating 15, 20 calls in a week off of those lead aggregators. And so, man, we juiced it. No pun intended with lemon seed, but we juiced that up because I could. So like Google local service ads, this is what clients get in trouble with. Google local service ads, that is one of those tactics that it is what it is. It's one of those things like, why can't I make this better if it's working really well for you? And then literally the client that's in the same boat as you doesn't have any response from it. You have to just understand what is working for you and then be ready to jump more into it and lead more into it. And so just setting expectations at the beginning, like what would make me think this is performing? So like with direct mail, I say you should get 3 to 5 phone calls for every 1,000 pieces of mail that you drop. So if I get 3 phone calls, drop more mail. I want more mail. Yeah. Right. So I set those expectations up front through research, through the vendor partnership that I have, through talking to other people using that same tactic. And that's how I choose to juice things up. One mistake that I do see contractors make, and this is hilarious to me. So I had a contractor, a large multi-service company. So HVAC, plumbing, electrical, they had several things going. And what absolutely killed me is we were doing direct mail for them. And she was like, this is great, but I've got to turn this off. So I was like, okay, well, we spent $4,000 and it generated $110,000. So why are we turning this off? And she goes, well, the postcard is just so ugly. It is not on brand for me. So I was like, okay, so we've taken this branding stance too far. So I was like, well, the purpose of the postcard is to look like an authoritative thing, like your warranty's up, right? And she's like, well, it's just too important for brand image. I was like, this doesn't even, and so I was like, okay, yeah. So we're going to turn off this lead funnel so that you can protect this brand image that this was not even detrimental to. But in their heads, they had gotten so in their head and down in the details that, man, and we'd ask 10 people and 10 people had an opinion. And so again, that committee ruined, we're going to sit back and not take that $100,000 worth of income. Yeah. It was wild to me.
I think of the who moved my cheese analogy. It's like when we think about these things, it's like, yes, it's changing from day to day. Marketing changes so often. It's kind of annoying. And then sometimes you had this place where there's a lot of cheese and then somebody moved it. It's a book about that. And you have to know when to, hold them, know when to fold them. Yeah. All right. Let's go. Let's go to the next spot. We got to go hunt. Even if it's going to take a while, we got to go hunt for the next place that there's cheese. But then there's another component of when there's cheese and there's lots of cheese there. Let's dig in. Let's set up camp and eat this cheese. So,
and in the meantime, be getting your next idea rolling because it's coming.
Contractors love the catch-all because it makes every single one of their roof builds easier and more profitable. Protective netting wraps facade and landscaping to prevent from left-behind nails and damage. Homeowner referrals bring you more jobs, and insurance supplements bring you more profits. But my favorite part, the branding.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love this quote from Warren Buffett about this. He says, the mistake people make is not going far enough with their winners. So this comes to that exploitation phase. Like, you notice we started the conversation about artists and musicians who find the key, I guess, to audience, and then they exploit it they play their hits. They play the hits. So when you find your hits, play them for everyone who will listen, and go as far as you possibly can with your winners. And I think even though that one's about investing, I really think it applies to marketing. Go all in with your winners.
Yeah. And, again, winning is going to be all relative to you. And also winning is kind of short-lived. I mean, I'm all big on sports analogies, but like for a while, you've got my boys play golf. So Tiger Woods was all the deal. Now he's like 38th place, and like Scotty Scheffler, because you know why? Because everybody has its glory days. So I remember when my family first launched, so this is like in 2011 or 12, we were one of the first people in our market to do a gift with purchase. So we did a TV, at the time, a 65-inch TV with the purchase of a new system. People were calling in and saying, I want one of those TVs and I've been needing a new system. We were flabbergasted. So, buddy, we ran that thing till the wheels fell off. I bought every TV in Lufkin, Texas. We were giving away TVs hand over fist and selling equipment, and it was great. And then the next summer, right after the summer, I ran it at the same time. Yeah. And the next thing I know, it's like a dud. And I was like, what happened? Yes. Well, what happened is TVs weren't a cool thing anymore. So I was like, okay, think, Crystal, think. So I knew that the concept worked, that fear of missing out. I want something and I know I have to spend it. And so I changed that to be not a new lead acquisition, but how did I go entice those people that knew they needed a new system anyway? How could I throw in a gift for those? And then when I went to market with new customer acquisition on the replacement side, I went at it with something super cool. At the time, it was AirPods. So even though AirPods were $200 or $300 at the time, they were a cool offering when you buy a new system, and our techs could win them. I mean, it really was a cool way to work that in, because I knew that strategy worked. I just had to get the prize right and the timing right, and it was just a game of kind of cat and mouse the whole time.
I like that, though, with the timing is such an important part, right?
Yes.
How about, let's just swing to the other side for a second. Do you ever see clients get stuck in chronic testing mode, jumping from idea to idea without ever letting anything build traction? And how do you help them course correct on that if that happens?
Yeah, y'all are going to get tired of me saying this, but expectations. So course correcting is one of our biggest struggles. So, Lemon Seed is built around being your navigator of how to do this. So a lot of contractors start out with full faith, like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna kill it. Have all this faith, and I'm gonna do it. And then when they really have to put their money where their mouth is, they get shy, or they have paralysis by analysis. Because we've got to go ask 13 people. We're going to go ask all of our technicians if they're okay with us running this. And I'm like, I will never hear from you. We're never going to get anywhere, because we should not be seeking the approval of everybody on our team. The prisoners don't run the prison over here, right? Like, we're the warden, and we're going to put things out there. And so I always try to set expectations up front of what our expectation of timeline of performance. And then I tell them, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then let them come back one problem. And most of the time, Tim, what I see is contractors that are just afraid of being wrong. And that's just part of the game. Part of the game is trying an offer that doesn't work. It's going to happen. It's only a matter of time before it happens, especially for those that are egregious with, being risky and thinking outside the box. For some of you, just like not leaving your digital vendor in 6 months is egregious. I have contractors who are like, man, I'm like, how are you like the hoochie mama of digital providers? Like, you've been around this joint, like, sis, we're going to sit down. I mean, literally, I have to tell contractors all the time, like, you're on your 4th digital company. I need you to like look in a mirror.
Yeah. Oh, Crystal, you're touching my heart right now, because that's certainly, even
direct mail also
contractors that are great, they'll be on their 4th or 5th, and I'm like, It's time to settle down, bud. It's time to. You're a great contractor. You just need to settle down a little bit because it's hard to. Yeah, I mean, like especially if I hear that they've been with like the 3 competitors I respect. You know what I mean? Because there's quite a few good. There are. I know that there's bad ones out there, but once you're up to a certain price point, there's a lot of really good agencies. So.
When I say that to them all the time, odds are you're not going to come to me from a bad agency. You might be coming to me with a bad program, like that you have a cheap thing or something like that.
Yeah.
But direct mail kind of catches that same thing. I love this idea of doing this variety of sizes of direct mail. So like large and large postcards down to small ones but a lot of contractors have no patience with marketing either. So everything has to be an immediate response. That's what's happened with private equity. If you ask my opinion on this, is private equity has no patience because money needs to make money immediately. So they go pull everything that's not immediately measurable. And what happens is then their expectations are all on poor digital providers. And I'm like, buddy, just give me a year and I will be we will outpace private equity because we're going to work on the brand side and the call to action side. And we're going to have patience and we're also going to be flexible. And so those are 2 things that private equity doesn't have, that big, large companies a lot of times don't have, is they can't be flexible and they have no patience. So
I agree 100%. By the way, I have been feeling this very strongly. Like I think that that's actually an advantage for so many of you that are small businesses, that if they don't understand brand and if they can't see ROI that's not in 2 months, then you can if you look at all this ROI if you understand brand and how it works in the long-term reputation thing, you can totally take that market share from them because the brand is the best leads you'll get. It's almost like close to referral, right? Like it's like referral. Yeah. So from my point of view, if they pull out of anything brand related, they're just freeing up space for you.
Believe me. And how do I combat private equity? Branding, community involvement, put your boots on the ground, go.
What's an example of a message or a tactic that started out as an experiment, but you now recommend for almost every client because it works across the board?
So there's a couple of things. Community involvement is going to be one of the things that is a tricky one, but it's a good one. Excuse me. So I was what I would consider one of the first, consider myself one of the first like community marketers kind of in the space. And one of those was my full-time job at my family's company. Like I drew a salary and I had a marked car. Okay. All I did was keep my employees happy, keep new employees interested, and make sure that my brand was everywhere a brand could be. That's all I did. Shake hands and kiss babies all day long, every day. And after about 7 or 8 months of me doing that very consistently, I mean, every single day, I was at chamber events, I was at home shows, I was at recruitment events, I was all those things. Community support was one of those things that we started off, my brother and I did, just trying it. Because marketing, once I had it organized, it was fairly organized and I just had to check on it every day. But I was like, what am I going to do with the other 6 hours a day? And so I was like, let me go try this. And man, now every time we open a new brick and mortar, if we've got a GMB location, we've got a community marketer in that space, because we have now figured out that putting our face in the community is rock star. It is the key. It is how we do it. It is how we build brand presence like expeditiously. So that was one that I did try that was, people are going to be shocked at this, so prepare yourselves. But at my family's company, and even at my brother, my brother and I also own a pest control company with my sister. So my sister and her husband run a pest control company. And so one of the things that we tried and did was we put magnets on the 2 phone books that are left here in East Texas. So I didn't buy an ad in the phone book other than like a little simple one. I bought for $8,000 the magnet on the front of that phone book. and it had measurement kitchen conversions on it one year. It had a spot to put Wi-Fi passwords on it one year. It generates $200,000 and $400,000 a year in revenue.
Oh my God.
Because I live in the boondocks. But the main reasons what was happening is people are taking that magnet off of the phone book and because the phone book went from being, like 6 inches deep to, a quarter of an inch, because nobody uses phone books anymore. But it still was working well for us once we pivoted. And now, now we're seeing that revenue drop off more and more every year. But at the end of the day, when you're getting like 1,000 times ROAS on that spend, you're like, why would I turn this off? And so sometimes that may look antiquated, but everybody else had pulled out of phone books. So I leaned into phone books and gave it a shot, and it worked. But then it's kind of starting to fizzle out now.
Crystal, can I ask one final question here?
Yeah.
I know that for M&M Roofing, you're working with Hook Agency on the website. How has that experience been for you? Have you enjoyed it? What has the process been like? Anything surprising to you about it?
Yeah, so a couple of surprising things. I love this. So from one agency to another, I took a couple of things. I was like, man, this was a great idea. One thing was I love the navigator that kind of, once we sold, so Sydney was fantastic. She helped me walk through all of my questions, which I love the patience that came because I was trying to help, figure that out. So Sydney was great. And then I got this navigator that's helping me like through my onboarding. And that has been super helpful because, there's designers that need you, and there's these different pieces of your website that need your attention. But that one point of contact has been very helpful. And then I got this great little box in the mail with t-shirts and some goodies in it. And so it's been great. And even though the process has taken, I think 60, 90 days, but and so while I'm anxious to get our website up, I love the attention to detail and the authority that's coming through it, and that navigator. It's been a very good experience for both me and Emily for M&M Roofing. So I really appreciate it. It's been great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for thinking of us. We're incredibly grateful to be working with you, and also just as a referral partner for Lemon Seed. I think this is such a sorely needed component of marketing, the positioning, the guidance, the overarching strategy and branding of a home service business. And if you don't have somebody like that on your team or helping guide you, this is probably a piece to get way more out of your marketing. So check out Lemon Seed Marketing if you haven't. Yeah. And where can people check you out online?
Yeah. So I have my own podcast called From the Yellow Chair, where I just talk about all things marketing. And so you're going to be on my show pretty soon. So that's exciting. Also, of course, on all social media channels, Lemon Seed Marketing, our website, lemonseedmarketing.com. And I'd love to just send you anybody. I love to share some of our client success stories, even talking with my brother of what he does and how we built this together. And my business partner, Emily, is a fantastic graphic designer. So we are really coming on strong with our brands, building out not just logos, but taking that brand all the way into actually implementing a new brand. And so I would love to talk. Friends and family talk free. So yeah, but check us out, lemonseedmarketing.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The podcast is put on by hookagency.com, Hook Agency all over social media. Appreciate you guys watching. See ya.